Welcome to the Dread Nest, where nightmares hatch.
They say sleep paralysis is just the brain waking up before the body. That it's harmless. But the night I saw him, I knew it wasn't harmless at all. It started like any other night. I had been working late, staring at my computer screen until my eyes burned. By the time I crawled into bed, my apartment was silent. The kind of silence that feels heavy, pressing against your ears. I remember checking the clock on my nightstand. 2:47 a.m. The world outside was dead asleep. I drifted off quickly, but when I opened my eyes again, something was wrong. I couldn't move. My arms felt like they were pinned to the mattress. My chest felt heavy, as though something invisible sat on it. My legs, my fingers, even my eyelids. Nothing responded. I was frozen, trapped inside my own body. Panic set in immediately. I had read about sleep paralysis before, but knowing the term didn't help when it was happening to me. My heart raced so fast I thought it might explode. And then I noticed him. In the far corner of my bedroom, where the shadows pooled the thickest, stood a figure. At first, I thought it was just my dresser, the shape of piled clothes casting strange shadows. But the longer I stared, the clearer it became. It was a man. Tall, impossibly thin, with shoulders that sloped at odd angles, as if his bones were bent wrong. His head was tilted down, but I could feel his eyes on me, burning through the dark. I wanted to scream, but my throat refused to work. All that came out was a shallow rasp, swallowed by the silence of the room. The figure didn't move. Not yet. He just stood there, watching me. And then, slowly, his head began to lift. I will never forget that face. Skin stretched too tight over sharp bones. Mouth open too wide, like a grin carved into his skull. And eyes. No whites. No pupils. Just endless black, reflecting nothing. He began to move. Not walking. Not gliding. It was as if the shadows themselves pushed him closer, inch by inch. His limbs twitched unnaturally, bending at wrong angles as though his joints had forgotten how to work. I could hear it now. The faint sound of bone cracking with every jerk forward. The pressure on my chest grew heavier. I couldn't breathe. My lungs screamed for air, but every breath came shallow, desperate. And then he spoke. Not with lips. Not with a voice. The words just appeared inside my head, dripping like poison. I've been here every night. My eyes burned with tears, but I couldn't blink. I wanted it to end, wanted to wake up. But I couldn't escape him. The figure was at the foot of my bed now. His head tilted again, twitching, his grin widening until it split his face unnaturally. The air around me grew colder. I could see my own breath spilling from my mouth, fogging the air. And then, he leaned forward. The bed dipped under his weight, though I couldn't see his legs. His face hovered inches above mine, those black eyes boring into me. His mouth opened wider than should have been possible, revealing rows of jagged teeth. I heard it. The sound of whispering. Thousands of voices, all speaking at once, pouring from his mouth. They said things I couldn't understand. Words and languages I didn't know. Promises I didn't want to hear. My body shook violently. Every muscle straining against the paralysis. I'll show you what you really are, he whispered in my mind. Then, his hands. Cold, bony fingers pressed against my throat. I felt the pressure, the sharpness of nails digging into my skin. My vision darkened at the edges. And just when I thought I would die there, suffocating under his grip, I woke up. Gasping, choking, my hands flying to my throat. The room was empty. The shadows were still. The clock read 3:14 a.m. But when I turned on the light, I froze. There were marks. For long, dark scratches around my neck. And since that night, every time I close my eyes, I feel him watching. Waiting in the corner of my room. Smiling. And I know one night, I won't wake up in time. The first time it happened, I thought it was just a dream. But dreams don't leave bruises. Dreams don't whisper your name. It was early winter when the paralysis started. I'd been under stress. Long hours at work, barely sleeping, eating garbage. I told myself my body was just breaking down. That's what the doctors always say, lack of sleep, stress, anxiety. But no doctor has an answer for what I saw. The first night, I woke to that familiar terror. My body locked, my chest heavy. My eyes darting around the room while the rest of me lay frozen. Everything looked normal. My desk, the bookshelf, the faint glow of the streetlight leaking through the blinds. Until I looked up and saw her. A woman clung to the ceiling above me, her limbs twisted like a spider's, bent in impossible directions. Her hair dangled toward my face, swaying as though there was a breeze, though the air in my room was still. Her eyes were wide open. Her lips moved silently. And her head tilted at a sickening angle, watching me with unblinking hunger. I tried to scream. Nothing. I tried to move. Nothing. And then, without warning, she scuttled across the ceiling like an insect, her body jerking with each unnatural step. She stopped directly above me, her face hanging upside down. Lips stretched into a grin far too wide to be human. I could hear it then. A whisper. Soft at first, then louder, filling the room. I see you. Over and over. 100 voices speaking in unison. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. The pressure in my chest grew unbearable. My vision blurred. Then, just as suddenly as she appeared, I could move again. I gasped for air, bolting upright. The room empty, the ceiling bare. I told myself it was stress. That it wasn't real. But the next night, she came again. And the night after that. Each time, she was closer. Each time, the whispers louder. On the 5th night, I woke to find her crouched on the wall beside my bed, her face inches from mine. Her mouth opened unnaturally wide. And something moved inside it. Hands. Dozens of tiny, pale hands reaching out from her throat. Clawing, grabbing at the air. I tried to turn away. Couldn't. Tears streamed down my face, but I couldn't even close my eyes. And then one of those hands touched me. Cold, wet. Too real. It pressed against my cheek. Left a damp smear down my skin. The paralysis broke. I screamed, thrashing, swatting at the air. But when I flicked on the light, she was gone. The smear wasn't. A streak of something black and foul clung to my face. Stinking of rot. I stopped sleeping after that. Coffee. Energy drinks. Pills. Anything to keep my eyes open. But you can only fight sleep for so long. When I finally collapsed from exhaustion, it was worse than ever. I woke to find her crawling out from underneath my bed. Her limbs bent backwards, her head turning full around to watch me. The whispers filled the room, deafening. Let me in. Her body jerked onto the bed, pressing down on my chest. I felt her weight, her cold skin brushing against mine. Her face hovered over me. Black saliva dripping from her mouth onto my neck. And then, her jaw dislocated. Snapping open far wider than humanly possible. Darkness poured from her throat, swallowing the room. In the blackness, I could hear children crying. A man laughing. bones snapping. I knew then she wasn't just a hallucination. She was real. And she was hungry. When I woke again, the room was silent. But on the ceiling above my bed, the paint was peeling. Not in random flakes. In the shape of 2 handprints. Blackened, burned into the plaster. And I know tonight, she'll be waiting. Not on the ceiling. Not on the walls. But inside my bed. They tell you sleep paralysis is harmless. That it's just your brain waking up before your body. But they never mention the thing that waits for you when you can't move. It started small. I'd wake in the night and see a figure standing in the corner of my room. Always the same spot. Always the same shape. At first, I told myself it was just shadows from the street lamp outside. A trick of my tired eyes. But every night, it looked more human. Broad shoulders. A head cocked slightly to the side. Just standing there. Watching. The paralysis came next. I'd wake up, locked in my body, unable to breathe properly. My eyes would dart around frantically. Searching, praying that corner was empty. It never was. The shadow stood there, closer now. Its outline darker than the rest of the room. Solid, like it absorbed the light instead of blocking it. The first time it moved, I nearly lost my mind. A long, slow step toward my bed. Its head tilted further. Like it was studying me. I tried to scream. Nothing. I tried to close my eyes. Nothing. And then, its arm rose. Long, impossibly long. A finger pointing straight at me. My chest burned. My heart pounded. The weight on me grew unbearable. Just when I thought I'd suffocate, the paralysis broke. I shot up gasping. Drenched in sweat. The shadow was gone. But the imprint of its finger remained on my blanket. A long, dark smear that wouldn't wash out. From then on, every night was worse. I stopped sleeping in my room. Tried the couch. The floor. Even checked into a cheap motel once. It didn't matter. Wherever I went, it followed. Each time I woke frozen, it stood closer. By the 4th night, it was at the foot of my bed. By the 5th, it was beside me. I could feel the cold radiating from it, like standing next to an open grave. And then, it touched me. Not a gentle touch. Not a tap or brush. Its hand pressed into my chest. I felt its fingers sink beneath my skin, gripping my heart. My vision went black at the edges. My body screamed in silence. And all the while, I could hear it breathing. Slow. Deep. Right beside my ear. When I woke again, I was on the floor, my chest aching. My blankets had been dragged off the bed and tossed across the room. But the worst part. The carpet where I'd landed was burned. A perfect, blackened handprint. I should have left. I should have run. But where do you run when the thing isn't tied to a place? When it's tied to you. The last night was the worst. I woke, unable to move. My eyes wide open. And it wasn't in the corner. It wasn't at the foot of the bed. It was lying beside me. Its face inches from mine. A face that wasn't really a face at all. But a shifting void of darkness. Swirling and hungry. Its breath was ice on my lips. Its hand pressed deeper into my chest. And in a voice that sounded like 1,000 whispers, it spoke. You don't wake up from this. I blacked out. When I came to, it was morning. Sunlight filled the room. The shadow was gone. But ever since, I can feel something inside me. Like a weight on my lungs. like fingers wrapped around my heart. I don't think I survived that night. I think I'm still lying there, frozen, screaming silently in the dark. And what you see now, what you hear now, isn't me anymore.